Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday night. Welcome to My Baby Experts. We are here for another amazing episode, and I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I'm Shari Criso. I'm the host of the show, and I'm so excited to be here with you again tonight. It's been a wonderful week. It's been an amazing month. We just got done with World Breastfeeding Week this past week. And we are just continuing on into National Breastfeeding Awareness Month. And I promised you, we were going to do a wonderful month filled with just great information and resources having to do with breastfeeding and having healthy babies. So tonight will definitely not disappoint in that category. This is what tonight is all about. So just let me make sure that you are all popping up here. It says that I'm broadcasting. Joe's trying to get the phone up, so I'm going to wait for him for a second here and see if I can get, if you can see me, maybe you can see me. I can't see me yet, so we're just going to hold on for 1 second. This is episode 121, so I am very excited. I can't even believe 121. So let's just make sure that we are actually live. Joe? Okay, let me try. Here, give me the. Let's see. Okay, give us a second. We need to make sure. We don't want to waste time here if we're not actually live. So hold on a second. Let me make sure. Yes, I am live. Here we go. Okay, and the only thing I know is that we didn't turn down the volume, did we? Yes, we did. Okay, yes. Hi, yes. Okay. Now I see you too. Okay, good. So that's perfect. Yay. We did it. I just didn't want to make sure. I wanted to make sure I wasn't just talking to myself tonight because it's just too important. I want you to hear this. Hi, everyone. Yes, we have a lot of people jumping on. It is going to be a fantastic night tonight. Like I said, tonight our topic is the infant microbiome. And for those of you guys that don't understand or don't know what that is, I posted a few articles talking about this, and we're going to be speaking about it in depth in just a few minutes when I bring on my special guest, Toni Harmon, a friend of mine, an amazing filmmaker, and just such a knowledgeable person that I am just so excited to reintroduce you all to. So I'll be doing that in just a few minutes. Before we do that, I just wanted to say hi to the audience, and I want to know, where are you guys from? Everybody go ahead and post. Tell me where you're from, because I know it's from all over the globe. And like I said, the page has been growing like crazy. You guys are amazing. How do you like these breastfeeding stories that we've been posting? That just kind of came about, and your stories are amazing. I love just seeing my messages come through and seeing each one of you just sharing and being such an inspiration for all the other mamas, and to be able to have this page be the community that Joe and I have always envisioned it to be. And that's exactly what it is. So, and to see you posting from all over the world and realize that this is the one thing that we all have in common. No matter where we live, no matter what culture we're from, what religion, what race, doesn't matter. We all share this one aspect is motherhood, parenthood, breastfeeding, birth, our children, our love for our children. And so I'm just thrilled to see everyone here and supporting each other as well as you do, and the way that you do. So yes, there you all are from everywhere. South Africa. Hi, Monique. Anyone else new tonight? I'd like to know if you're new. We always give special welcome to new people, so I want you to go ahead and post and tell me if you're new so we can give you a special welcome, and we're so glad to have you here joining our family, and that's what this is, a family here. So, and speaking of new, we actually have a brand new partner, brand partner that I want to introduce you all to tonight, and that is a company called Bloom Life. And so I'm pretty excited. I've been speaking with the amazing team over at Bloom Life for several months. They have an incredible product that is very different than anything you've seen before. And I want to talk a few minutes about it because that's actually our prize tonight, and it's something that I want to introduce you to. So Bloom Life happens to be, and I actually have the box right here so I can show you what it is. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So Bloom Life is a company that created a This is the little box that it comes in, okay? It's a company, it's a women's health company that focuses on improving the health of moms and babies by supporting you while you're in labor or during your pregnancy. Mostly it's during your pregnancy. Toward the ends of pregnancy, it helps to track your contractions right to an app on your phone, okay? So this is amazing. It actually, what you do is it comes in the mail, you rent it, and it has these little patches that will actually go right onto your belly, and then this little transducer here will go right on there, and it will help you to monitor your contractions right onto your app, so it can give you peace of mind, so that you can kind of get some reassurance of what it is that you're feeling. For a lot of you, you may have a history of preterm labor. You may be having to monitor your contractions. This is the type of thing that you would use usually around the last 6 weeks, maybe more, could be the whole third trimester of your pregnancy, depending on the situation. But it's fantastic. And so I wanted to show it to you guys. I also wanted to show you a little video because it's a really cool video describing what it does. And that's going to be our prize tonight. So someone's going to win 2 free months rental of the Bloom Life little device here. You'll get your own little patches, your own little box, and you'll get 2 months. And what they told me is you can use that anytime that you want to. If you're planning a pregnancy in the future, you'll have that credit if you win. And then we're going to be doing a special giveaway tomorrow as well. So pay attention for that. And I also have a little coupon code for you guys. I think Joe can go ahead and post it, but let's watch the video real quick and get that up here on the screen. Hold on one second. Here we go. Okay. This is Bloom Life.
These are your first moments of motherhood, filled with joy, curiosity, and love. And questions. Lots of questions. We're here to help. Introducing Bloom Life, the first and only wearable designed for pregnancy. Part gestational guru, part pregnancy decoder, Bloom Life automatically detects, counts, and times your contractions in real time. No more guesswork. Designed to be worn throughout the third trimester, Bloom Life translates those strange pregnancy sensations to provide a validated second opinion on what you're feeling, conveniently from home, giving you easy to interpret, easy to share information at your fingertips. This is all made possible by a lightweight, clinically validated sensor that safely and accurately measures the electrical activity of the uterine muscle. Because it's 100% passive, Bloom Life is safe for continuous use day or night. Simply snap the sensor into the patch and comfortably stick to your belly. With automated tracking and counting, quickly see what's going on from a glance. Revisit past recordings to learn how your contraction patterns are changing. See, for the first time ever, how your body is preparing for labor, and that special moment when you'll meet your little one. Because that day is right around the corner. This is the future of prenatal care. This is Bloom Life.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that video. Let's get some hearts going across the screen for Bloom Life and this fantastic new product that is it's pretty new, and we're going to have a winner tonight. So what you need to do, okay, first of all, you need to have registered for this. So hopefully you guys all went to the link and registered your name. You need to just like or love this post, comment here. Please tell me, why would you need this? Why do you need this? Why would you love it? If you've never heard of it, love to hear about your thoughts. Okay, so go ahead and just comment here. And that is our Bloom Life prize tonight. And thank you guys for being such great partners. And we love having you. And everybody watch out for tomorrow too, because I'm going to be doing another giveaway. All right, so without further ado, I'd really like to start our topic here. Again, it's the infant microbiome, and I have our guest, Toni Harmon, that I'm about to bring on so we can all get started. Hold on, here we go. Hi, Toni.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, us too. Toni, I'm so excited to have you back. And I say that because it's been several years, but Toni was on the show, how many years ago now? It has to be 5-6 years ago, I believe.
I honestly, I don't know. I haven't looked, but yeah, a while.
A long time ago. And I've been thinking about it ever since. And since watching your new film and as World Breastfeeding Week month came up and National Breastfeeding Month, I thought this is the perfect time to have you come back to talk about this amazing, incredible, and super important topic. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you. And I'm so excited because breastfeeding and the microbiome is just this perfect match. It's this amazing natural synchronicity. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It goes hand in hand. So Toni, before we get started, I just love for you to be able to introduce yourself and give your background. How did you get into being a filmmaker and to make these type of films, and just tell the audience about yourself.
Okay. So I'm Toni. I'm a filmmaker and I make films with my partner, Alex. So imagine Alex is here. So if I talk to us, this is an imaginary Alex.
It's like Joe over here, imaginary Joe. It is just like that, actually.
So myself and imaginary Alex, we met at film school 20 years ago, and we started making films together, and we made documentaries and short films, and then we made a feature film. We actually made a horror film, and it got picked up by Lionsgate, and we thought we were on our way to Hollywood. And then I was pregnant, which was wonderful and brilliant, and our life took a sort of a swerve in a different direction. So I had a baby by C-section and struggled to breastfeed, and my baby was given antibiotics and all that sort of stuff. And I had all these questions about childbirth, and I was like, okay, well, why don't we start making films? Or actually, at the time, it was like, let's make one film about childbirth, about the kind of, what's going on with sort of childbirth today. And that became, so we made a film about doulas, and then we made a film about human rights in childbirth. And then we started hearing a lot more about the science of childbirth. So, and that's how we came to make Microbirth. So we didn't go on myself. And
asking what's the name of what is the movie? And it's called Microbirth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. So Microbirth. So we made this film which looked at the latest science of the infant microbiome and epigenetics, and it's amazing. And from that moment on, we've been delving deep into microbiome and microbiology. So from where we were, 10 years ago, thinking that we were on our way to Hollywood, for the last 6 years, we've been in microbiology world, and we've interviewed dozens of professors. We've traveled around the world, written a book. I don't know, just all these whole things that my life has completely changed direction, and I love it. I love it.
Well, it's amazing work that you both are doing, and I'm glad that the direction changed. Not that we don't need horror movies, but we actually need this way more, and it is really supporting the planet and women and men and human beings everywhere, because that's what we're talking about here is life itself, and down to the cellular level, down to the beginning of each one of us, and how we develop our long-term health, our entire life from that moment of birth. And it's just such an interesting, I got to watch the movie again today. I watched it a while back when it first came out, and then I had an opportunity to again watch it. And the first time I saw it, I said, this is amazing. And then today, again, this is amazing, to just the thought that our bodies are, this was the one part I loved, that statistic that our bodies are made up of 90% of our body is made up of microbes. So we are 90% microbes and 10% human or mammalian. And when I hear that, it shows us how little we really know, even about our own bodies and what we're doing. So I just wanted to say that because my mouth dropped open again as it did the first time. So I love the film, and I think that it should be something that all parents, everybody should be watching, but especially healthcare providers. It seems to me that too little information is known about this, especially with people who are actually right there in the moment, like midwives and nurses and lactation consultants, and understanding that it just goes so far beyond something nice. It's necessity. It's a necessity. And we started this conversation this past week with my guest, and we talked about skin to skin, but this just takes it to a whole deeper level, a bigger level. So let's talk about what is the microbiome? What are we even describing?
Okay, so the microbiome is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. I mean, there's lots of articles about gut health and gut bacteria, and it takes a little bit to get your head around. So some people might know this stuff, but some people, okay, go back to the basics. So imagine you look in the mirror and you think, you, everybody, is made up of trillions of human cells. Great. And then, as you rightly said, there's these trillions of bacterial cells. And it's not just bacteria, it's fungi, viruses, protozoa. So single cells, microorganisms. And they live on your skin, up your nose, in your eyes, in your ears. If you're lucky enough to be a woman, inside your vagina, and all the way through from your mouth, all the way down through your stomach and all along into but the most loads, trillions, are found at the bottom end of your gut. Okay, so that's your microbiome, and your microbiome is completely integral to our health. So things like your immune system, metabolism, digestion, the workings, there's a gut-brain connection. So what happens in your gut also impacts what happens in your brain. So when I think of myself as a human, and I am a human, but there's a whole part of me that isn't human. And that whole part of me, as scientists are discovering, it kind of impacts my health and the functioning. So if this other non-human part of me is not working right, is out of balance, that affects my whole body. So that's why you might get a runny tummy or diarrhea, or you might have asthma or allergies, because there's something out of balance within the kind of bacterial ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And the most exciting part is that your microbiome, the founding moment, happens during birth and breastfeeding. That's the thing. It's kind of everything happens within this kind of magical window around that time.
Describe that whole process to us. It's the process of what they call seeding, and it has to do with the birth process itself of how we birth through the vaginal canal, and the mother's bacteria then colonizes the baby.
So if you picture a baby growing up inside an expectant mum, and the baby's kind of floating around in the amniotic sac, all happy, and there's a little bit of exposure to microbes, scientists believe, that tiny little percentage. So and that might be involved in a kind of pre-seeding, but anyway, so the fetus may be exposed to some bacteria, but the main seeding event for founding the baby's microbiome happens as soon as the waters break, as soon as the amniotic sac splits open. That's the baby's first main exposure to the world of microbes, the world in which we live. I mean, around us, we're surrounded by microbes, we're surrounded by bacteria. So as soon as the waters break, that's the moment. So as the baby is coming, I'm going to use my hands a lot. So as the baby's coming out through the birth canal, the baby's going to be coated in the mother's vaginal microbes, and that's brilliant. So these vaginal microbes have a high percentage of lactobacilli, a type of lactic acid bacteria that's related to breast milk. I'm going to come back to that in a little while. So remember that, lactobacilli. As the baby comes through the birth canal, the baby's coated in lactobacilli and other vaginal microbes. And some of those microbes are swallowed by the baby. So you've got the mother's vaginal microbes. And then as the baby comes out, this is beautiful, the baby is supposed to have contact with the mother's fecal matter, her poo. Birth is supposed to be messy, and that gives the baby the mother's gut microbes. So as the baby comes out, there's likely to be a bit of poo there, a bit of bit of vaginal juices and everything else. Birth is messy. So the baby kind of comes out into that and then goes on to, hopefully, ideally, straight onto the chest and skin to skin. And the baby will then acquire the mother's skin microbes. And with breast milk, the baby will acquire breast milk microbes. So it's the whole kind of beautiful seeding process. So it's the main seeding event for founding the baby's microbiome. So it's the mother's vaginal microbes, it's the mother's gut microbes, the mother's skin microbes, and microbes from her breast milk, as well as all the other environmental exposure. So where the baby is born, whether the baby is born in a hospital or at home, who touches the baby, the air of wherever the baby's born, all of those all of those bacteria come into the schmulzbrug, or kind of the big mix of bacteria. And that's it. Those bacteria will train the baby's immune system and will tell the baby's immune system what's friend and what's foe. And anything that interferes with that scientists believe there could be consequences.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, they believe that, well, first of all, when you were saying about the intestinal microbes, this is, most of our immune system is in the digestive system, in the intestine. And so seeding and colonizing with the right bacteria and microbes and fungi, like you said, into the intestines is super important for the baby's immunity.
Well, if you think about it, a baby is born with an immature immune system. So, so the baby has to learn very quickly kind of what it should fight and what it should kind of love in a way. And that kind of immune training, that's the mother's bacteria. So that's why it's really important for the mother's bacteria to be transferred to the baby to help with the optimal immune training. Yeah.
There's a question that somebody just posted, and we were going to get to this. Well, they're asking all the questions that we discussed earlier, which is a couple things. One is, what about babies that are born by cesarean section? And this is covered in depth in the film. And Joe, do you have the link? Because people are asking, where can they watch the film? Do you have a link? Where can they see it, Toni?
If you go to microbirth.com, you can watch it on Vimeo. You can buy a DVD, but that's the quickest link. Microbirth.com or Vimeo. Just Google Microbirth.
Joe's gonna go ahead and put that up for everybody, so you can go ahead and watch. I guarantee you want to see this film. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I loved it. I loved it the first time. I loved it the second time. Everybody needs to see this. So Joe's gonna go ahead and put that link up for us. Joe, are you there? Okay. I'm like, did you leave? I haven't heard him sitting there. He's there. Okay, so let's talk about cesarean section, because this is always the question, and this is part of the whole story.
Okay, so I had a C-section. I know C-section can be sensitive for some mothers, and the whole point of me making the film, writing the books we just created, of course, is to inform parents. So this is the latest evidence-based science, and I think it's really important that health professionals and parents are aware of this science, because it helps them have informed choice. Okay, so that's it. And C-sections are life-saving and they're amazing. Okay, so take a deep breath. So because the baby doesn't come out through the vaginal, out through the vagina, and the baby comes out through the sunroof, comes out through the abdomen. And so the baby is likely not to have a full set of exposure to the mother's vaginal microbes. It depends whether or not the waters have gone before she has a C-section. But if the waters haven't gone, so it's an elective C-section, then the amniotic sac isn't going to be ruptured. So as the baby comes out of as the abdomen is open up, that's when the amniotic sac is ruptured. So the baby is brought out. So there's no contact with the mother's vaginal microbes, and there's no contact with the mother's fecal matter either, which means that the first microbes to arrive in the baby to found the baby's, or the main seeding event for the baby, is likely to come from the air of the operating theatre, rather than the mother's microbes. And because the microbes are not the right type kind to optimally train the baby's immune system, scientists believe that this can affect the training of the immune system. There's also something called epigenetics. I don't know if you've covered epigenetics in other shows, but just this idea that the pressures and hormones and natural movements of vaginal birth, that switches on genes and the baby's genes, so that the genes needed for kind of life outside the womb. And again, because the baby's brought out through the sunroof, through the abdomen, rather than going through the kind of the pelvis, those genes might not be switched on or switched off. So there's theories. So they're the two main theories, whether it's epigenetics or whether it's the microbiome. But something's happening with C-section babies which makes them at higher risk, significantly higher risk of certain conditions. So babies born by C-section are about 20% at higher risk of asthma, of diabetes, of celiac disease, and also obesity. So there's something happening with C-section that is affecting the kind of immune training. And the hypothesis is that because it's the microbes, possibly in connection with the genes, they're not the right ones that the baby's supposed to have right away.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense because, and this was part of the film too. They talk about it's sort of this balance, because in some places on the planet, we need more cesarean to save mothers' and babies' lives, which thank God we have the option of cesarean, and, you know, where we need it, we really do need it. And that's, thank God. And then there's other places in the world where we are doing them unnecessarily, or that, you know, they're having way more than than we should. And there are consequences, is what we're trying to say here, is that there are consequences to that, you know, doesn't mean that every C-section baby is going to have asthma. It doesn't mean that every C-section baby is going to be obese. What we're talking about are higher percentages, higher risk for it. And then, you know, they also don't know really if it's caused by this or if there's just a relationship to it that could be affected by other things. In addition, there's other things you can do as well, because as you said earlier, it's not just what occurs during the vaginal birth, but also what occurs when there's skin to skin contact, which can be done with a cesarean section. Baby can have skin to skin contact. The baby can breastfeed. These are all going to be other things that, in addition to the vaginal birth, are going to help to colonize and seed the baby as well. And it's important to understand that what you don't want is too many people touching the baby with their bacteria versus your own. And this type of thing does happen where everyone's touching the baby, where it's really mom that needs to do that.
Well, not just mom, it can be dad too. It's just the kind of the family unit or siblings.
Right.
You know, so, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it just means that a baby born by C-section is just at higher risk of these things. Doesn't mean they're going to have it, but but the thing is, if you have one of these conditions, whether it's asthma, diabetes, celiac or obesity, there's other conditions which are related to that, which the baby might have later in life. So it just increases your risk of all these kind of conditions.
Yep.
But the biggest thing that a mother could do is to exclusively breastfeed.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the biggest, no matter how a baby is born, to exclusively breastfeed, because the mother is giving her baby 700 species of bacteria. So they're the mother's, you know, bacteria. So it's kind of okay, so it's not the vaginal or the gut microbes, the special microbes, but it's a whole set of the mother's microbes, which is really, really good. And plus there's something in breast milk, which is this magic ingredient, which is the human milk oligosaccharides. So there's special sugars which are there to feed the microbes which have just arrived from the mother. So these human milk oligosaccharides are like wonder food. So yes. The baby in the gut, they get these special sugars which are indigestible by the baby, and the baby's bacteria eats them and then colonizes really, really quickly. And that's what, helps train the immune system. So even if a baby is born and by C-section, if the mother is able to be supported with skin to skin to colonize the baby's skin microbiome, but then to be supported with exclusive, and it has to be exclusive, breastfeeding, that would be a fantastic way to start the baby's lifelong health.
Yep. I'd love to take the time right now to show a little trailer of the film. And Joe, when you post the link for the video, it's microbirth.com, right? To go to? That was the trailers. We gave the link for the trailer, but we also want to give the link for the film because I know everybody will. Oh, they can purchase from the trailer. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I want to put the trailer up right now. Hold on one second here. Let's get this on here. And here we go. Okay.
We think we're at the pinnacle of our existence, and yet the reality is we've never been sicker.
We have been facing a rising epidemic of plagues, from asthma to obesity to allergic diseases.
And it's going to get worse.
Tomorrow's generation really is on the edge of the precipice.
We're bankrupting ourselves.
The cost would reach a staggering $47 trillion.
That's not sustainable. We're hitting the wall right now.
Let's say you have 10 diseases that are rising at the same time. Perhaps there's one thing that's fueling them all. Our ancient microbiome, which protected us against many diseases, is degrading.
We estimate we have lost about a third of the diversity of our microbes.
If we miss the window at birth, then the immune system never matures correctly.
If you upset this process in the early life, then we may have consequences later.
And that can lead to production of disease later in life.
I think we're in the midst of the largest experiment in human history.
Humanity is heading for a huge health crisis.
The worst case scenario is in fact really terrible. So we have to alert the public.
I don't think we're too late, but we're definitely not too early either.
Turn the microscope on birth. It's a really important part of a human being's life.
We can make a significant impact on health for all mankind.
If how we're born affects our chances of long-term health, we need to seize this opportunity to actually turn the course of human health.
If we don't take the bigger perspective, how do we know that we're not altering the course of humanity?
Awesome. Yeah, that shows such a small piece of what this film is. I want everyone to go watch this because, like we were saying, it's about, we're not early to the table with this, but we're also not too late. And it's really important for everyone to become knowledgeable. I think that it brings up, before we actually get into that, let's talk for a moment. There's a whole concept of vaginal seeding that I want to discuss, and as something that they are studying, that they've done some research on. Can you explain to everybody what that is?
Okay, so swab seeding, or sometimes people call it microbirthing after our film. So one of the professors in the clip, Dr. Maria Gloria Dominguez-Bello, she's from a microbiologist from New York University. So she's been researching this technique where a sterile swab is put into the mother's vagina prior to a C-section, and then sort of incubates in there, collects all the mother's kind of vaginal bacteria, and then just before the baby's born, the swab is taken out from the vagina, put into a sterile container. The baby's taken out, and then the swab is wiped over the baby's mouth, face.
One second. This is for babies that are born by cesarean.
Yes. And the whole idea is to introduce the mother's bacteria. So some of the microbes the baby would have received if the baby had been born vaginally. So that's the idea.
And so they swab the whole baby. At the birth.
Exactly. So put the swab in the baby's mouth first, then face, then the rest of the body. and because it's got kind of the mother's vaginal microbes. But there's a few things to kind of say about this, that it doesn't have the mother's gut microbes. So it doesn't have, there's no, as far as I know, there's no poo swab, the mother's poo swab. If I was going to have another baby, I would DIY myself. I'm not saying anyone else should do it, but I'm just knowing what I know. Anyway, so it doesn't have the mother's gut microbes. There's, as I mentioned, this whole epigenetics. So there's no sort of the stresses and pressures and hormones of vaginal birth. You're still missing some of those. But and her Dr. Dominguez-Bellows, her research, this is like research only. It's not a medicalized, it's not recognized medical procedure yet. And also there's strict protocols about her research. So she only is researching elective cesarean only, because then it's controlled conditions. For some reason, mothers need to be under 35. Not quite sure why that is. And mothers need to be low risk. So I guess, so there's no complications, lower risk of complications. And also the mother's vaginal microbiome needs to test negative for any pathogen. So no GBS or any other kind of viruses or pathogens. So it's kind of reducing the risk factors. So all of that said, so there's risks involved in terms of if the mother has a pathogen, a kind of a bad bacteria in her vagina, then you're artificially introducing it to the baby by wiping it. So her results, she's just published the first set of results, and the first set of results say that this technique partially restores the baby's microbiome. It goes some way to partially restore it. Mm-hmm. So partially restores the baby to what restores the bacteria the baby would have received if the baby had been born vaginally. So only goes some way. It's not like a cure. It's not a silver bullet, but that could be a possible solution in the future. I mean, because this is new research, there's no long-term study, so we don't know if there's any kind of, long-term risk later down the line. That's part of our research project, to look at if there is a kind of, higher risk of things further down the line. So there's something there that could be a possible solution for those mothers that need to have a C-section for whatever reason.
Yeah, and so somebody wrote, but it's not helpful and help. What Toni was saying was that just part of the research they're doing, they're eliminating anybody with high risk situations. That's not to say that once the research is complete, it becomes a medical a standard that they start to use, that it would eliminate everyone in a high risk situation. And it would also not eliminate anyone over 35 either. That's just part of the study. So just so that we're clear about that, it's something that's not just being done everywhere or anywhere really, other than in the research.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right to point that out. I mean, this is just her research protocols. I mean, if it's rolled out, kind of 2 or 3 years down the line, then I'm sure they won't have such strict protocols. It's just her research has got clearly defined clinical protocols.
And it makes sense because we're trying to, I'm sure with any research, they're trying to eliminate any other factors that could impact the outcome in a way that would throw off the results of just really comparing, people of basically the same age, basically healthy, elective cesarean. It all makes sense to really compare to see results. And from the initial, what they're seeing is that those babies even born by cesarean do have similar colonization, more similar to a vaginal birth.
That's right. I mean, it's more similar than so it's more similar to vaginal birth than C-section birth.
Interesting.
But then, it's preliminary days. It's just, early days. I mean, in fact, Dr. Dominguez-Bellows is still recruiting. So if anyone wants to be part of her research program, you need an obstetrician or a midwife. You need the consent of the mother, and you need someone to actually do it. So whether that is the kind of a midwife or a nurse or, the partner. So if there's people out there who want to be part of this research program, great.
How would they find out? How would they contact?
Just on our microbirth.com website, there's a contact form. Just drop me an email and I can put you in touch with Dr. Dominguez-Baró.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So there you go. If you want to be part of the study, go ahead and send in to go over to the microbirth.com site and contact Toni to be connected to the researcher. Fantastic.
I can't promise because I'm not doing the research.
Of course not. No promises. But if you're interested, that's the way to go with it. Fantastic. Speaking of the GBS, which is Group B strep, and one of the things that one of the questions that did come in was, what if you're being treated with antibiotics? Because antibiotics are really the other side to this story here. There's the one side of our human existence and how we coexist with microbes and how that is what keeps us healthy. And then there's the whole introduction of antibiotics over the last 75 years that has also interfered, not just cesarean sections and moving away from the natural process. It's what we've actually put in place to keep us healthy that have given us the ability to perform cesarean sections, to operate, to heal ourselves in certain ways, has also caused some harm.
It has. I mean, so antibiotics is life-saving and amazing, and it's one of the miracles of the 20th century. Since this was discovered in 1929 by Alexander Fleming. I mean, it's amazing, fantastic. That said, antibiotics can have a really powerful impact on a baby's microbiome. So with GBS, the standard treatment is to administer, if a mother tests positive for GBS in the 3rd trimester, then the standard treatment is for the mother to be given antibiotics during labour. Unless there's other kind of conditions in terms of if she's got a spiked temperature or her waters have gone prematurely, whatever. But anyway, so if she tests positive for GBS, she'll be given antibiotics. So if a mother is given antibiotics, then depending how long the labour lasts, depending if the waters have broken, depending just the kind of exposure, as I described, the baby's coming out through the birth canal and getting all the vaginal microbes. So the antibiotics could have an impact on the mother's vaginal microbes, could also have an impact on the mother's gut microbes, could also impact her skin microbiome, and could also impact her breast milk, so the microbes in breast milk. So all of these things could alter the baby's microbiome. So some broad spectrum antibiotics basically kill off everything. I mean, 90, 95, 99% of bacteria, they're gone, which means that there's the species that are left are the ones that are kind of resistant to antibiotics. So yes, they can kill off pathogens, but at the same time, there's this risk that actually the ones that colonize the baby's gut might not be so helpful. Yeah. That all said, antibiotics for GBS can have a devastating impact on the baby's microbiome, but at the same time, GBS infections in newborns can be fatal. Can be a really serious infection, and there's a risk that the baby, that the mother passes a GBS infection during the birth process onto a baby, and there's a risk that that baby could become very ill or might die. And so doctors have to balance that risk between very, very slim chance of the baby picking up an infection and becoming sick and even dying, and the kind of the potential damage being done to the baby's microbiome. Yeah. The alternative is if a mother tests positive for GBS and gives birth and then refuses to have antibiotics, but then the baby needs to be watched kind of 24/7 to make sure that there's no signs of infection. So it needs to be by a trained professional. And so it's just, at the moment, there isn't a microbiome friendly solution that kind of which reduces risk. I mean, there's risk whatever which way to turn. I mean, it's one of the, I actually want to do more on the whole, what can we do about GBS? Because I think it's such a difficult problem. And the more the more antibiotics a baby has, and I think there's something like I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 doses of antibiotics the average baby has before the age of 1, I think it is. I can't remember the statistic. Quite a lot of doses before the age of 1. Each bout of antibiotics does impact the microbiome, and that this is a critical time when it's still developing. And yes, it just means that an altered microbiome just means it's all to do with the training of the immune system. So yes.
Yeah. It's a hard thing, because again, with each side, everything we spoke about, there's like the pros and the cons. And then there's like, you don't, of course, if a cesarean is needed, a cesarean is needed. If a person has grippy strep, that can be fatal too. So of course, this is all a balancing act. And the whole point of all of this is because knowledge is important, to have the knowledge. And it brings up the whole concept of, moms watching, they feel guilty because this must come up for you. You hear this from moms, just, I was not able to have a vaginal birth. I wasn't able to breastfeed. Like, how do we deal with that? Because it's something that I think is really hard for all of us. We all want to do things in a perfect way. But does that stop us from talking about the reality of what we're learning from science?
For me, I mean, guilt's like this elephant in the room, and it gets me. I might go on a bit of a rant. I'm sorry. So I apologise for my rant. I think guilt is the elephant in the room, and I think it's a conversation stopper. As soon as someone says, if I do talks or kind of a conference or whatever, someone inevitably says, "Oh, we shouldn't guilt mothers." It just makes me it riles me, because firstly, mothers have a right to informed choice and informed consent. Mothers have a right to have access to the very latest evidence-based science. And this evidence-based science, if they can understand it and if they can get to grips with it, and it is quite complex science, if they can get to grips with it, then they can have informed consent. They can be aware of the different factors and make a choice based on those factors. Yeah. And to silence that conversation by saying, "Oh no, you shouldn't guilt a mother," it's kind of, where do you go with that? It's kind of, we need to be able to talk about what the latest evidence-based science is showing, that vaginal birth, when possible, and sometimes it's not always possible, and sometimes C-section is brilliant and life-saving, and yay for C-section when it's needed. But for the optimal seeding and feeding of a baby's microbiome, and this impacts the baby's lifelong health, vaginal birth, when possible, immediate skin-to-skin contact, and exclusive breastfeeding. And we just need to be shouting that message from the rooftops. Every single healthcare professional needs to understand this and needs to know why this science is so important. Yeah. And not be afraid of making someone or being accused of making someone feel guilty. I acknowledge some issues are very sensitive, and it is, how a mother might choose to feed her baby is her choice, but it's having access to the latest information. That's what I'm kind of passionate about. Yeah. So excuse my rant. It's like, come on, let's get over this guilt thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not a rant. And this is coming from someone, you had a cesarean birth with your child, and we want to have this knowledge. And even if it isn't something that we could do I wasn't breastfed. My mother did breast, so it doesn't mean that I don't want to know what is the science, and for us to move forward in a progressive way, so that we like you said, we can't be silenced because of that. And it's never about people feeling guilty for their situations, but always about advancing and knowing better, even if it's for our children.
And I think it's being sensitive. I mean, it's kind of delivering this information in a sensitive way, but actually delivering that information. So not being afraid to say, this is how it is. This is what the science is showing. And I think it's dangerous not to say this. I think I have fear for the next generation, because guilt is silencing health professionals. It's silencing scientists. And I have real fear, that the next generation, the long-term health of the next generation, will be compromised just because someone says, you're going to make a mother feel guilty.
Yeah.
Okay,
I completely agree. And that happens for me too. You know, I'm advocating certain things it's never about judgment. It's only about information, education, empowerment, and being able to make the best choices when we can. And if you don't know, you know, and I always say this, you know, without the knowledge, it's not really a choice.
Well, you can only make a choice if you know all the information that's available. So you can only take action if you know that that's an action that can be taken.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I mean, I just wish that I knew back then what I know now.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of drives me forward, and that's kind of puts fire in my belly, is that every mother should have access to this. It's not rocket science, but it's the latest evidence-based science. And not just every mother, but every single health professional, every single doctor. Every doctor needs to know this.
Speaking of doctors, Toni has a online course, Microbirth online course for health professionals. Will you talk a little bit about that? Because we also have a link for that. And we also have a special offer too, which was really amazing. And could anyone take this course if they wanted to? Okay, so talk a little bit about the course and then what the special offer is. And Joe's going to go ahead and post it here.
Okay, thank you for mentioning it. So different people like accessing information in different ways. So we've written a book, we've made a film, but actually what we found out that health professionals need to be incentivized, some of them need to be, with continuing education credits. Mm-hmm. It took me a long while to realize this, but actually, if you have a course that is accredited for, we've got it for 9 CERPs, 9 contact hours with the American College of Nurse Midwives, 9 CPD hours with the Australian College of Midwives, 0.9 CEUs with MEAC, Midwifery Education Accreditation Council. Anyway, so I've realised that to incentivise health professionals, you need to get accreditation. It sounds terrible. It sounds really terrible when you're just saying, you know, need to incentivise them. So we created this online course, which is 9 hours, and it features 11 world leading scientists. And the whole idea is to explain the science of the microbiome and epigenetics in really easy to understand, bite-sized bits, which is the very latest science, and it's lifetime access. And we're doing our special offer we're doing for until Thursday. So Thursday the 17th is we're offering it for 1/3 of the usual price. So the usual price is $247, so it's $80. It's $80 for 9 hours of education.
Yeah.
We're saying health professionals, but it's just we're right now we're creating resources for parents. So I've got this master plan. So my master plan is like stage 1 is health professionals. You need to kind of get everybody up to speed with the latest science. You need to kind of get everybody aware. This is how, you know, this is the science, and this is how you inform. So if any parent comes to you and asks you a question, you can feel confident talking about this science. That's stage 1. That's where we're at this right now. So with the kind of the 9-hour course. Stage 2, educating the parents. So we're creating these kind of resources which will be available later this year. So it's kind of like really simple to understand. Okay, this is what you need to, like the essentials of the microbiome to help you inform your choices as a parent. Stage 3, this is like my big mission, is to bring the science to doctors and clinicians. Mm-hmm. That's a whole different kettle of fish, but that's next year's job. But so in the meantime, so go to microbirth.teachable.com.
Joe, can you link up, please? Oh, I don't see it. Oh, okay, there's a delay. Yeah, so Joe just put up a link to be able to, here it is. Yes. Okay, great. It's actually, we put a bit.ly link up there, so it's Microbirth online course. It's very easy. Anybody who's interested, there's a heavily discounted rate right here. And this is for the course. Anyone is able to take the course. We're, health professionals, midwives, nurses, lactation consultants, physicians, and any moms or dads out there that want to do that can as well. There's also a book. There's also a film. I would recommend checking that out right away on microbirth.com. But it's fantastic. I'm so proud of you, Toni, for putting this together. And when you said it puts the fire in your belly, I get that. I understand that myself. Many times it's because of our own experiences, where we wish we would have known, that we would have done differently, that light the fire in us to support others. And I hope you guys can all take that from us, that conversation, because no one's saying, here's what we did it perfectly. Most of the time it's, I didn't know this. I wish I had known this. And I don't want one more person to not know the way I didn't know. And
you summed it up just perfectly. It's just that idea that kind of, God, it's just if only I knew this. And it's, you could, the essence, I mean, so for parents to know, it could take 5 minutes to understand this. It's not, but once you get it, it's like, wow, and suddenly everything makes sense. The film, we're doing a kind of a follow-up film at the moment, so I'm looking at the microbiome and health throughout life. And the more you kind of, it's like an onion, more you peel back the layers, you suddenly think, wow, everything, I've changed. I mean, I home ferment now, I make my own kefir, my own sauerkraut, my own kimchi, I kind of eat high fiber vegetables, just everything is my life, and get exposure to nature, go for walks, all of that stuff, just because you kind of realize that you need to look after the microbes within you, the bacteria within you. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, there you go. And it never is too late. We're talking about, like, one thing we didn't talk about that I know did come up was the idea of probiotics and taking probiotics. So
everybody's microbiome is different. So depending how you were born and where you were born and who touched you first, and just until whether you had any interventions during your birth process, whether you were formula fed or breastfed or mixed formula, and everything that came into contact with you over the first 2 or 3 years of life really kind of sets the microbiome. So everyone's microbiome is different. So there's not one probiotic that would work for everybody, and there's not that many probiotics with really strong scientific evidence behind it. So a lot of probiotics might claim they work. I don't know if they work. I don't know if those ones work. I know that certain ones have really strong evidence behind it, but particularly aimed at those with health conditions. So say IBD or IBS, C. diff. So there's some sort of, fecal transplants, so probiotics, probiotics for antibiotics associated diarrhea, that can be worked. So probiotics for gut conditions.
Yeah.
Ones with proven evidence-based science, yes, they can be beneficial, but not one, so one probiotic might work for me, but it might not work for you because our microbiomes are different, and depending where you are. My Alex, Invisible Alex, he thinks that he's really sensitive to a probiotic with Lactobacillus rhamnosus. So he thinks if he takes a probiotic with that particular bacteria, he feels happy.
Yeah.
Whether it's psychosomatic or not, I don't know. But he will search out a bacteria with a probiotic with that in it because he thinks that it makes him feel happy because of the gut-brain connection.
Well, if he's happy, it's worked. Hey, they brought up a question that we talked about right before the show, which was my question too. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it. I don't care about the time right now. They're asking about water births, and we discussed this earlier. Let's talk about that a little bit because I've had the same thought as well.
Okay, so water births. I mean, I've filmed water births, and the most beautiful, fantastic. They can just be really empowering for the mother and really relaxing, and the water, and it's beautiful. But there's no scientific evidence about the effect on the impact on the baby's microbiome. There was a small research paper in 2004 that looked at the compared to the mother's vaginal microbiome with the oral microbiome of the baby. So whether the oral microbiome of the baby matched the mother's vagina. A little bit complicated. And it did within water birth. That was a really small study in 2004. Since then, we've had this thing, which is, I've become really geeky about this, but there's this thing called next generation sequencing, which is looking into the kind of the DNA of bacteria. So really getting to know what the bacteria are and what they do. So since that study in 2004, everything's moved on. That's why microbiome has kind of, made the headlines. That's why everyone's talking about it, because this new technique, next generation sequencing. So I don't know. You can imagine if a baby is born in water and the mother's poo is floating around the pool, the baby's not going to have maybe so much contact with the mother's poo, mother's fecal matter. And maybe the water does wash away some of the microbes. You don't know. I mean, particularly if the waters go inside the water. And there's another thing that we talked about before, whether like the use of chlorinated products to clean the birthing pool.
Or even in the water, or even the chlorine that just exists in the tap water to fill it.
That's the thing. So depending where you are in the world, chlorine is often added to public water supplies because it kills bacteria, and that's great. It kills bacteria, but actually, in terms of the effect on the microbiome, they don't know. So they don't know if scientists don't know if and to what extent being born in water and being born in chlorinated water can impact the baby's microbiome. They don't know. So yes. I can see the benefits and beauty of water birth, and it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Well, this is a perfect example of how more research needs to be done, and how the idea of the microbiome and what we're learning about it is not biased in one direction or the other. It's not just all about, well, you want to avoid cesarean. It may also have impacts on how we deliver vaginally too. It's going to give us the information. The more that we research it, the more that people pay attention, the more that we learn. We're going to learn what are the best techniques, what are the best practices to support the health of the mother, of the baby long term. And even things like a beautiful water birth, like we said, may not be the ideal situation, may be great for labor and birth. It may not be great for colonization of the baby. So again, the research is not there, but it is a question that needs to be asked and considered.
I would love, if anyone's watching thinking, I want to do a PhD. What topic should I choose? This would be a great topic. Another great topic, if you're looking for a great PhD topic, babies born on call. So babies born in the call. So either partially or wholly covered within the amniotic sac. No one's researched the microbiome and the impact of being born in the call and what exposures the baby receives. So great research part. Another one. Vernix, kind of when a baby's born and they're born with a kind of waxy skin, and if you rub it into the baby, you have if you use it on your own face, you have super soft skin. But the idea is that vernix might be there to attract bacteria. It's like a kind of glue. So ordinarily practices rub it all off. You kind of baby's born, kind of towels, rubbed it all off, and the mother's given back this kind of wiped clean baby. You could be wiping away the baby's kind of bacterial glue, but again, no one studied it, so no one knows. So things like, there's so much that we don't know, and it's kind of within the next 2, 3, 5 years, hopefully we'll have more answers. But and by shining the microscope on childbirth and shining the microscope on skin to skin and on exclusive breastfeeding, I think we'll have more answers.
Yeah. So you guys can all do your part by watching, by learning, by, spreading the information, sharing this amazing chat that we did tonight, which I'm sure we'll do many more. This topic can be discussed. As you can see, Toni's just a little bit excited, enthusiastic about the work. Just a little. I wish you were just a little more lively about it, Toni.
I know. We're doing a
let me tell you, I absolutely love it, and I get excited talking to you because the implications of this are huge, and so I'm excited to see where the research takes us, where the practices start to change, and being in this industry, and I've been working as a labor and delivery nurse and midwife it started about 25, 27 years ago, and just where we've come from back then to today is a big step. And I feel like this is the next step right here. This is the next big understanding of ourselves in a way that we've never seen it before. So I'm really excited to see all the midwives, the doulas, the nurses and doctors who do watch and pay attention to our page here. And hopefully they'll go ahead and do your course. And together we will become more knowledgeable. We'll ask more questions. And that's how things really start to change.
I think this is like a paradigm shift. I think this is it. This is, sort of everything we've learned up until now is kind of been twisted on its head, and we just need to rethink about every single thing we're doing during pregnancy. We need to start looking after the mother, and looking after the mother's microbiome, making sure that so exercise is good for the microbiome. Eating fresh fruit and vegetables, having a high fiber diet, eating fermented foods, all of those things. We need to kind of start looking after the mother. We need to kind of put things in place so that there, if possible, vaginal birth, or to empower mothers to in their birth choices, and to enable vaginal birth if it's possible, and exclusive breastfeeding with support for. I want to clone lactation consultants. I think there should be lactation consultants. Should be millions of them everywhere, and should be automatically assigned to every single mother. Should have a kind of lactation consultant right there on hand.
Wouldn't that be great?
And supported, and not just lactation consultants, but breastfeeding counsellors, maternity support workers. So just to be there on hand. I struggled when I had the C-section. I struggled to breastfeed. No one supported me, and it's just this thing that kind of, God, if only I had somebody just to show me how to breastfeed.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. That's my whole mission in life purpose these days, all these last couple of years, and it came from a lot of struggle myself. Here I was a midwife, and I was struggling with breastfeeding. Not enough good people actually to support, and it's one of the reasons I do what I do every day, and hopefully making a big difference. It seems like. I want to, first of all, Joe, just put it here. We're coming to the end here. I want everyone to give Toni huge, huge love and hearts going across the screen, because I didn't even tell you this, but she's in the UK. So that means it is the middle of the night right now for Toni, and she woke up in the middle of the night to actually do this with all of us and to support us and to be here for this amazing information. And Toni, thank you so much for the work that you do, for the advancement of us as a society, as human beings. Your passion is going to change the world, and it is changing the world. You're bringing it out there, and I'm happy that I could be a part of it tonight with all of our viewers.
Well, I'm right back at you. Thank you. But right back at you, because I think you're changing the world. I think it's kind of everybody joining together and kind of doing their little bit, and whatever their big bit in your case, but just kind of everybody joining together and going, come on, we can do this. Yeah. We can give our children the best chance in life. We can give them the best chance at the best possible health, and it's simple and it doesn't cost anything.
Exactly. And I also want to thank Bloom Life for all of you guys that watched me earlier about the Bloom Life contraction monitor that we are giving away tonight. Thank you. There are amazing new sponsors and partners. We're going to be doing a big giveaway tomorrow as well. Pay attention in the morning and tonight. If you'd like to win, just like or love this post. make sure that you've registered. Hopefully you guys are all learning how to register. Make sure you registered, and then comment here. Tell me why you'd like to win the 2 free months rental for the Bloom Life product. And thank you again, Toni. We're going to say goodnight to everyone, and I hope that we see each other very, very soon. We'll be doing another show, I'm sure, very soon. So good night, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful week. And I'll see you all here on Thursday night. We're going to be doing a breastfeeding Q&A. So I know you have lots of questions. Go ahead and post them. I'll put the link up tomorrow. And we'll be answering questions on Thursday evening. Good night. Mwah. Bye, everyone.